Hello everyone, this is Victor again. Welcome back to the channel. Still deep into Gamescom 2026 coverage, and today we are spending the full episode on what I think was the best gameplay showcase of this entire event. Tomb Raider: Legacy of Atlantis. A 20-minute extended gameplay presentation dropped during the Xbox broadcast today, and it was the most detailed look anyone outside the development team has seen. Before today, we had trailers, mini documentaries about specific systems, and a collection of renders and screenshots. Those were impressive, but they raise as many questions as they answer. Today we got to watch the game run in real environments with real systems for 20 minutes straight, and what was shown answered a lot of the questions fans have been asking since the first reveal. Let me walk through this systematically, because there is genuine depth here, and I want to give every system the attention it deserves. The gameplay demo opens in Peru, specifically Lara's approach to the Tomb of Qualopec, one of the three main tombs in the original 1996 game story, and a location that fans of the classic will recognize immediately. For those less familiar with the original, the Tomb of Qualopec is one of three resting places of a figure from the ancient Atlantean civilization. Recovering what is sealed inside is part of Lara's mission to find the scattered pieces of the Scion. The Scion is the artifact at the center of the original game's plot, an ancient relic believed to hold enormous power. Recovering its three pieces drives Lara across the entire world. The remake's Peru section represents the first major portion of the game, and the demo was deliberately chosen to show how the foundational systems work before the complexity increases in later regions. The first thing anyone will notice is how the environment looks and behaves. This is Unreal Engine 5 operating with clear intention. The jungle is not a backdrop, it is a presence. Vines grow across stone surfaces with visual weight. Water flows through cracks in ancient masonry with particle behavior that suggests real mass. Light filters through canopy in shifting patterns that react to movement. The density of the foliage, the interplay of shadow and direct light, and the texture quality on the ancient stonework together create an impression of a place that has been sitting here for centuries before Lara arrived. More importantly for a Tomb Raider game, the environment communicates its own geometry. Ledges are readable. Paths are visible without being obvious. The space invites exploration rather than funneling movement. Traversal in Legacy of Atlantis is the first major conversation the demo opens. Movement is the language of Tomb Raider, and how Lara moves through a space defines how the game feels minute to minute. The classic acrobatics are fully present and clearly central. Jumps of different distances. What is immediately noticeable is that these movements are not animations playing over a physics system. They are specific player-controlled actions with their own inputs and outcomes. This is the classic Lara Croft movement philosophy. Deliberate, precise, with a gap between intention and execution that requires the player to understand the system rather than simply hold a direction. It is different from the Survivor trilogy, where movement was much more responsive and physics-driven. Legacy of Atlantis is not trying to replicate Tomb Raider 2013. It is reaching back further than that. The transition animations between movement states are noticeably smoother in this build than in earlier footage. Lara moves from running into a jump, from landing into a roll, and from climbing into a reach with fluidity that suggests the animation team has done significant polish work. Deep dive swimming was shown in an extended underwater segment, moving through flooded tunnels inside the tomb complex. This is one of the most visually striking sections in the entire demo. Water clarity varies with depth and with light. Near the surface, Lara can see her own hands through the water. Deeper, the environment darkens and the only illumination comes from cracks in the stone where light filters through from above. Navigating the underwater section requires managing Lara's breath and positioning carefully. The original 1996 game's underwater sections were sources of significant frustration because of how they combined oxygen management with navigational complexity. The demo showed the system handled through audio and visual cues, rather than a traditional UI bar, which is a more immersive approach. Whether that proves equally clear in practice is something hands-on play will reveal. The swimming animations themselves deserve mention. Lara moves through water with physical weight, and the way her hair and clothing behave underwater, using Unreal Engine 5 simulation systems, is noticeably detailed. Environment interaction is the next major system demonstrated. The team has expanded what Lara can do with the spaces around her well beyond what the original game offered. Push and pull mechanics were shown with large stone objects, Lara Crofts, repositions and leverages, heavy architectural elements to change the path forward. This is a classic Tomb Raider element elevated with cleaner animation. Lego systems and pressure plates appear in combination, requiring Lara to understand the causal chain between actions before executing them in order. The sequences shown were not long but demonstrated that puzzles require thinking, rather than experimenting randomly. One extended puzzle sequence involves redirecting water flow through a series of ancient channels to unlock a flooded chamber, then navigating that chamber before the mechanism resets, managing timing alongside spatial understanding. Another sequence demonstrates the terrain transformation mechanic that had only been vaguely described in earlier marketing. Lara triggers an ancient mechanism that physically reshapes a section of the environment, creating a path that did not previously exist. This mechanic has significant implications for exploration and replayability if it appears throughout the game at the densities suggested. Discovering that an environment can change, and then figuring out how to make it change is a puzzle type very suited to this genre. Before I forget, if you are enjoying this video, please hit that like button right now. It helps us more than you know. Subscribe to the channel too, it truly means everything. Thank you. The PDA scanner is the most debated system revealed so far, and the demo addressed it directly by showing both of its functions in operation. The PDA is a multifunctional device Lara carries throughout the game. It has two distinct modes and the player chooses which function to invoke at any given moment, and that choice involves a meaningful trade-off. The first function is environmental scanning for puzzle hints and interactive elements. When raised, the PDA highlights objects Lara can interact with, structural points of interest, and directional indicators for the path forward. The second function is lore expansion. Scanning ancient inscriptions, artifacts, wall carvings, and architectural features reveals contextual information about the Atlantean civilization, the science history, and the specific tomb being explored. The deliberate design intention here is that spending time on lore means navigating without gameplay assistance, and spending time on gameplay hints means missing the contextual depth the world is offering. Players who want to be challenged by the spatial and logical puzzles use the scanner purely for lore, accepting that they must solve everything without hints. Players who find puzzles frustrating use it for guidance and still receive a rich world-building experience. This is a more sophisticated version of accessibility design than a simple difficulty slider. The same tool serves both groups without splitting the experience or making either group feel like they have a lesser version of the game. One discovery worth highlighting from the demo. During a scan of an inscribed stone deep in the tomb of Qualopec, the lore text revealed details about the Atlantean civilization that go significantly beyond what the original 1996 game described. Specifically, the scan text referenced the three pieces of the cyanide as components of something larger than the weapon the original game characterized it as. The exact nature of this is not elaborated in the demo, but it suggests the remake is expanding and recontextualizing the original mythology. CD Projekt Red has done something similar with The Witcher 3, using the world building in one game to set up narrative threads in the next. Crystal Dynamics appears to be doing this with Lara's universe. The PDA also triggered some community debate when it was first shown, with some players concerned that a scanner device would break immersion or make puzzles feel like inventory management rather than exploration. The demo addressed this by showing that the scanner is not mandatory and does not activate automatically. It is a tool Lara raises intentionally, which means players who never want to see it can simply never use it. Now the combat, which was the section of the demo generating the most discussion during the live broadcast today. The focus system is the central mechanic around which all combat is built. Focus accumulates as Lara engages with enemies, taking damage, dealing damage, or successfully timing a dodge against an incoming attack. When focus is spent, time slows. This is the core of the system, a deliberate slow-motion window in which Lara's acrobatic abilities can be performed with control that real-time combat would not permit. During focus, Lara can execute backflips, side rolls, aerial repositioning maneuvers, and directed combat moves with precision that feels deliberate rather than reactionary. The slow motion also enables precise targeting. The game director Raul Sequeira described the design philosophy in a mini-documentary released 3 weeks before Gamescom. The team wanted acrobatics to be meaningful to combat rather than decorative. In the Survivor trilogy, Lara's agility existed in traversal but was largely absent from combat, which was cover-based and grounded. Legacy of Atlantis reverses that by putting the acrobatic movement directly into the center of the combat system. The focus meter ensures that the spectacular moments are earned rather than constant. You cannot simply hold a button and perform impossible acrobatics. You must engage with enemies successfully to build the resource that enables them. This creates a rhythm where cautious tactical play and aggressive engagement both serve the same goal. The risk-reward is clear, and the visual payoff when focus is activated and used well is genuinely satisfying to watch. The Gamescom demo showed 2 distinct enemy types that illustrate how the combat system was designed around different challenge patterns. The first enemies encountered were feathered raptors. These are not the smooth-scaled dinosaurs of the original 1996 game. The feathered design reflects a more scientifically informed interpretation of what small theropod dinosaurs likely looked like. Their behavior is pack-oriented, individually manageable. Together, they surround and attack from multiple directions simultaneously, which is exactly the kind of encounter where focus becomes essential. Without focus, responding to a raptor attack from behind while tracking one in front requires splitting attention in ways that make error very likely. With focus activated, Lara can execute a backflip over the rear attacker and shoot the front one during the slow motion window. The combat animations for the raptors themselves are notable. The motion capture behind their movement has a genuine predatory quality, with weight shifts and faint motions that make each animal feel responsive rather than scripted. The second and far more significant enemy demonstrated was the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which appears in the Lost Valley, one of the most iconic sections of the original 1996 game. The context for fans. In the original game, the Lost Valley was a section where Lara encountered living dinosaurs in a hidden valley, meeting a Tyrannosaurus Rex. There was one of the most memorable moments in the game's history. In the original, the encounter was essentially a large enemy Lara had to avoid or whittle down with conventional weapons. Mechanically similar to other large enemies in the game, just larger. Legacy of Atlantis has completely reimagined this as a structured boss encounter in a geothermal valley. The environment itself is part of the fight design, with specific areas, sight lines, and interactive elements that affect how the encounter progresses. The T-Rex in this version is visually enormous. The pre-Gamescom render of Lara escaping its jaws that Amazon released weeks ago already suggested the scale would be impressive. The in-engine footage confirms it. The hyperfocus mechanic is the key system introduced for this specific encounter. When Lara builds sufficient focus during the T-Rex fight, a slow-motion precision window activates that is visually distinct from regular focus. Hitting a specific weak point on the T-Rex during the hyperfocus window deals dramatically more damage than standard fire. This creates a combat structure where the fight is not about sustained damage output, but about correctly building and spending focus at specific moments. The encounter shown required Lara to use the environment to create distance, evade the animal's charges and roaring sweeps, build focus through successful evasion, and then spend it on targeted weak point shots before the process restarted. It feels closer to a Monster Hunter style encounter than to what the original game offered, and given that Tomb Raider has always been partially about engaging with dangerous wildlife, this design direction makes sense. Watching the sequence live, the scale of the T-Rex relative to Lara, combined with the geothermal environment's lighting and particle effects, created one of the most visually impressive combat segments shown at this entire Gamescom event. The 4 confirmed weapons are the dual pistols, a shotgun, an SMG, and an assault rifle, each suited to different engagement ranges and enemy behaviors. The dual pistols are Lara's signature weapons, and clearly the all-purpose option. They appear comfortable in virtually every situation shown, and carry the iconic weight of the classic design. The shotgun handles close range, encounters effectively against multiple smaller enemies. The SMG provides rapid fire for medium-range suppression. The assault rifle extends reliable accuracy further out. No upgrade or crafting system was visible in the demo, which is either because it does not exist in this game, or because it was deliberately held back from this particular demonstration. The 4 regions of the game represent a significant geographic and environmental range. Peru's jungle tombs represent the first region, demonstrated here. Greece's ancient ruins, Egypt's deserts, and the Mediterranean island follow Atlantis. Each region contains one piece of the scion. Each requires navigating a different cultural and architectural context, with different puzzle logic, different environmental hazards, and presumably different enemy types adapted to each setting. The overall design philosophy as described by the developers throughout this promotional period has been to honor the isolation and mystery of the original while using modern technology to make the danger feel real, and the world feel alive. Amos, head of Crystal Dynamics, called it a love letter from fans to fans. Based on the care visible in the environmental storytelling, movement fidelity, and the attention given to classic elements like the T-Rex and the Tomb of Qualopec, that description feels accurate. Will Kiyosaki, game director, said that properly reimagining the original game meant adapting it to the tastes of modern players, not simply repainting it. The focus system, the PDA, and the expanded puzzle design all reflect that philosophy. Alex Wilton, Regan voices Lara throughout. She was confirmed as the voice of Lara in Legacy of Atlantis, and in the separate upcoming game Tomb Raider, Catalyst. This is a deliberate continuity choice. One detail from the broader context worth mentioning. The classic Tomb Raider trilogy recently received a patch, adding 60 frames per second support to the retro graphics mode of the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remaster. This suggests active investment across the entire Tomb Raider catalog, not just the new titles. Amazon Game Studios appears to be treating this franchise as a serious long-term priority rather than a one-time release. Based on everything shown today at Gamescom, Legacy of Atlantis is shaping up to be one of the most important Tomb Raider releases since the Survivor trilogy began in 2013. It is doing something neither the Survivor games nor the Anniversary remakes fully achieved, combining the spirit and philosophy of the classic design with production values and gameplay systems built for modern audiences. The franchise has been searching for its identity for over a decade, oscillating between grounded survival action and the confident adventure tone of the originals. Legacy of Atlantis appears to have found where those two things can coexist. February 12th, 2027 is the release date. For Deluxe Edition buyers, early access begins February 10th, which is 2 days before Lara's birthday on February 14th. Apparently intentional. I am leaving recommended videos on the card right now for you to check out next. Thank you so much for watching, and see you later on, so GG plays.